YouTube, Stocks by the Numbers, welcome back. Market open about 10 minutes ago. It's Thursday morning. Someone asked for a quick update on SoundHound. Let's get into it. Name of the company, SoundHound AI Incorporated. Ticker symbol SOUN, listed here on the NASDAQ. Stock sitting right around $2 a share, $1.99, up 1 cent, 0.5% here on the day. In my opinion, this 198 fib level here, very key level here for the stock to hold. And of course, more importantly, looking back, we also see that over time, as long as we've been watching the company, it looks like around that 190 level is a pretty key level as well. So that's the one that I'm looking for this stock to hold right here, sitting at about $2. Markets mixed, as we see NASDAQ red, Dow green, S&P green. And of course, all week since the ball dropped, markets have been actually selling off a little bit here day after day. So this is what I said originally, just going back. Again, I'm not trying to pat myself on the back. We all see different things. You utilize different indicators to do our analysis and whatnot. But in my opinion, just giving a broad, generalized look at the market, I personally did not really understand what happened in November, December. And I know people are going to try to talk about, some of this BS economic data or the Fed meeting and the rate hikes and all this nonsense. But again, I have to remind you that whether rates were raised or kept sideways, you guys, everyone insisted on pumping the market either which way. So, if they're going to raise rates, which technically is bad, in my opinion, and then you're going to reward stocks, then when rates get cut, you're also going to reward. Like, it can't work that way. You know what I'm saying? Like that, that's like saying, oh, unemployment is down, market should go up. Oh, unemployment is up, well, market should go up also. Like, you can't, you know what I mean? This data has to be taken into account at some point. And unfortunately, I have a feeling that overall, we may potentially just be getting duped across the board. When numbers come out and something like unemployment is up, and production is down, there's a reason why we keep an eye on this data. Because if it's bad, then things are getting worse and companies will end up losing value. Well, they should overall. Steam friend, my apologies. But more importantly, when things are good and the economy is growing and the GDP is growing, like that, those are good things. So then the market's going to go up, right? And it just seemed more black and white, several years ago. And now I just feel like we're living in this gray area where it's like, yeah, unemployment is up, but it's okay. We're up anyway. Rates get hiked, but it's okay. We're up anyway. And now that's what I mean. Everyone was amped on the anticipation. Oh, rate cuts are coming. Well, it doesn't matter, right? Because when rates were hiked, you guys took markets up anyway. So that's what I'm saying. You can't have the best of both worlds. And sometimes now, after a random rally like that, in my opinion, was an 8-week rally. I mean, just because it was the end of the year and people wanted the markets up, like that's ridiculous reasoning, in my opinion. And then what happened was, immediately you can see, right as the ball dropped and we go into January, when we're supposedly supposed to get that January effect. Again, the January effect is when the ball drops and these funds reposition their assets into other positions that are more fundamentally financially sound. They've been performing better. They're more of a growing business, right? So they'll sell one position out to build a new position in a different stock now that the ball dropped. So that's why it's called the January effect, because a lot of new volume comes into a lot of these usually fundamentally sound stocks, and they see the bump during January, and usually markets happen to be green. However, the problem was, again, like I said, we ran randomly for like 8 straight weeks, just because the Fed had a meeting or whatever the hell. I don't even know what the hell you guys, what everyone was so amped about. But long story short, we went on an 8-week run. And basically what I said was, you can't have a random 8-week run before you're supposed to have, historically, another run in January based on the January effect. So that's why I said, if it does go higher in January, it's just going to be even more dangerous. And now you're actually seeing this come to fruition, where we got to the point where we rallied for 8 straight weeks randomly, in my opinion. And now with the January effect coming in, it is still not good enough. And now they're supposedly, all of a sudden, you're seeing headlines, oh, investors are weary about rate hikes and what's going to happen in 24. And, investors start the year hitting the sell button and all that nonsense, these BS headlines that you read. But again, long story short, it goes back to the old adage, what goes up must come down. And again, as simple as that might seem, we said that there was a possibility that this could happen. And now, as you see now, today we're a little bit mixed here. But again, we started off the year back-to-back big red days here. But let's get back into SoundHound real quick. Unfortunately, I don't have much news here. The last update here, right? Yeah, the CEO said they're building technology so advanced, feels like magic. There you go. Chipotle, Krispy Kreme, right? They had the deal with, who was it? Jersey Mike's. There was another one. Krispy Kreme, right? So the company, that's what I mean. This company, when you see things like that, they're slowly building their list of clientele, right? And then before you know it, I mean, who knows? Even just here across the states, right? Let's not even talk internationally for a second. Let's just look at the states real quick. We have so many fast food franchises, right? So if a company like SoundHound could even grab like 5 or 10% of that market, and I understand in business that is like a horrible way to look at your market, but overall, let's just say even 5-10% of all of these franchises out here, you know, that are utilizing their apps or they have a drive-through, now all of a sudden they sign up with SoundHound AI, and now you're basically just talking to an AI machine placing your order. Again, it's going to, you know, streamline the experience for the customer and, of course, for the company as well. And it's just going to increase efficiency overall. You know, the data was already out. We did updates of all these companies touting how effective SoundHound AI technology is now at their business. So, again, we're just slowly building our clientele, constantly hearing news, Krispy Kreme, Jersey Mike's, White Castle. So it's slowly growing. But here, in the short term, right, we have an understanding of what could potentially happen in the long term. Looking at earnings again, EPS was light, but in my opinion, the revenue is key because you want to see the company, again, consistently increasing their list of clientele and consistently increasing the revenue. So as we see here, the company beat revenue by almost $500,000 last quarter, and we had a nice random rally. Well, not random, excuse me. We had a nice rally from about 1 3/4. We ran up to about 240 and change, and then we started consolidating here, dropping down. It looks like, in my opinion, we're kind of in like this downward trumpet consolidation taking place. And I just wanted to show you guys just a couple of trend lines that I drew out for your point of reference here. And I went from the absolute bottom of this candle here, October 26th of 23, connected to the bottom of that candle right there, October 30th, 23, which also lines up with basically right around the bottom of the body of that candle of November 1st. And that's this trend line here drawn out. And you can see that this was the top trend line since it had that run up after earnings and then began consolidating. You can see that's our top resistance line. And it does look like we did kind of form a symmetrical triangle here. Again, symmetrical triangle technically means the stock could either break up or it could break down. It is very different than an ascending or a descending triangle. But as we see here, the stock broke down just a handful of cents, and it looks like it pulled back right here to this fib level of 198. And that's where it bounced off of yesterday, and we can see that's where it bounced off of today so far. I know it's very early. It's only been about 15 minutes after the open, but looks like the company wants, well, obviously anything can happen, but it looks like the stock right now is trying to hold that 198 level. And here, boom, there you go. Now with that pop, if it sees potentially, I know this is like an all-day candle that I'm looking at here, so we have another 6 hours to go. But if it does potentially pop maybe another 1 or 2 cents and actually hold that, then it does have the potential to form now a bull hammer for the day. But of course, you know, we'll cross that bridge when we get to it. But it does look like, in my opinion, right now for the time being, the stock wants to hold this 198 fib level. If potentially it doesn't, then, in my opinion, what we're looking at is maybe back to 190, right? If you guys have been following SoundHound, whether it's through my channel or not, you can see that going back over time, it's looking like this 190 level. Look how many bounces off of this 190 level, right? Trying to stay above it, trying to regain it again over here, trying to get back above it, pops above it, and you can see almost bounces, comes down right to it. Almost look at the low 191 on that candle. You see what I mean? So it's looking like right around there is potentially our key level. Could be like 188 to 191, but we're going to call it 190. So as we can see, we could potentially be approaching that level, and of course the stock could just pop back up in range, and it could just start running. But again, based on everything I said in the beginning about how January could potentially now be a little bit of a rocky mixed month instead of a good positive green month, a small cap company like this could get hit a little bit, and you could potentially see it drop down into the 190s and the 180s. But this is our 190 trend line again, so I think that's a key level for the stock to hold. And then after that would be this trend line, which, as a point of reference, is the bottom of the candle October 26, 2023 to the bottom of the candle November 1st, 2023, right? And I just kind of drew that out across there. So you can see we could potentially step down to about 190. We could potentially drop down here, meet up with this trend line, maybe at 185, and even drop down to this bottom fib here, 182. In my opinion, if it drops down, what is this, January 16th, 17th, so we'll say like 2 weeks from now, if it does just continue to drop down, as you see on the right side of the screen, we're looking at potentially 172, 173, right? So again, I know obviously if you're a trader and you just stepped in, I mean, if we pull back to 180, 170, I know that's going to kind of suck in the short term. But again, if we liked it at $2, we should love it at 170. On the flip side, if you're a long-term investor, probably not a lot of this really pertains to you because you're probably holding for the longer run. But again, if the average person watching the video who's holding long-term, if you do have a business or a job or any sort of income consistently, if you're little by little just adding to this position, buying shares, then again, I mean, if we accumulate up at 2.5, 220, even like 190, and then the stock begins to drop down, at 170, at 1.5, in my opinion, you're buying shares on sale. Right? And that's why I always say it is much more emotional and stressful to trade in the short term because you're looking for that pop. Boom. Immediately. I need to buy it at 2. Tomorrow I need it at 219 so I can get in, get out, make fast money. What do you mean the stock is down? I'm supposed to be selling it for a profit today. Now you're screwing everything up. Now I got to hold the freaking thing for the next 10 days, 3 weeks, whatever it is. Right? So trading, much, much more stressful. And this is why I always say, let's look for decent companies with growing revenue and let them sell off. It's okay because we're going to be building a position. And of course, more importantly, last time we looked at the stock here, I also spoke, in my opinion, how we could potentially get into a bidding war and we could have a buyout taking place down the road, as the CEO has went on record and said they've been approached multiple times. So that's why we have a scenario here where it looks like they have good technology and they have a good product and service that they're bringing to the table. It looks like the clients appreciate their product and their technology and it works out well for them. And that's what I'm saying. So now we see that there's value there, right? The businesses see value and they want to be new clients. And obviously other companies see value and approached SoundHound in the past. And that's why I said in my previous video, potentially like a Snapchat or a Netflix, again, with the market cap here of only $500,000, I mean, someone could step in and just potentially throw their hat into the ring and say, hey, we'll give you $1 billion for the company. What do you think? You know what I mean? So, and again, just like we saw with U.S. Steel, whether the company takes the bid or not, like the old saying goes, a stock is worth what someone else is willing to pay for it. So if a bid comes in for $1 billion valuation, that is going to be north of $4 a share. That's where the stock could potentially go off of that news. Again, this is all hypothetical, but it'll also kind of maintain that value, right? So now instead of trying to hold 190 or 173, the stock will end up trying to hold like, 370, 3.5, right? So it'll be up significantly more. But anyway, long story short there, just went on a tangent, but there's value, right? In my opinion. But we'll switch over to stock charts. I'll let you go. RSI sitting here at about 45. As we see the company drop down, looks like it just bounced off that bottom fib as well and trying to regain that 50-day moving average on the daily. As we see 202 on the daily, 202. Stock right now, 201. And recently we had some tightening here with the Bollinger Bands. But you can see even as of late here, since, when did they post earnings? It was almost mid-November. So yeah, it was right here. So as you see, the stock jumped up, right? It ran up, it began to sell off. Obviously, you know, people started taking profits, of course. But look what happened right there. We had the bounce off the 50-day, right? And then we kind of came down, and you can see we broke down again, and now it looks like it's almost immediately trying to regain above that 50-day moving average. So in my opinion, that 202 level is key, and the stock right now at this moment just hit 202. So we potentially have a very key level here at 202, and also, if, let's just say, right now from this moment, the stock remains flat and closes on the day at 202, again, that would potentially be showing us a bull hammer for the day, and that could potentially drive us back up to, you know, 220, 230 range. But of course, that's more of a prediction than a reaction, but we'll see what happens. But the RSI, again, we do have some room to climb. MACD looks like it's kind of just been slowly pulling back. And of course, the last couple of days to start the year, the markets were red. So again, a company like this that could go down a little bit was going down a little bit. So we had slight sell-off. But on the weekly here, we can see we've been holding this this middle Bollinger Band, basically since before and going into earnings. So, you know, in my opinion, that's a pretty good stable sign. Another Steam friend, my apologies, guys, forgot to shut that down. But here on the weekly, it does look like the MACD is kind of flattening. Looks like it's slowly climbing. And, yeah, in my opinion, I think it's probably going to maintain this level, and we could have a little bit of a run, maybe up to like the 220s, the 230s, going into next quarter's earnings. Again, roughly 2 months away, looking like early March. And look at these estimates here. This is a little jump now in the revenue, up to almost 18 million for the quarter. So only time will tell. But, you know, I said it once and I'll say it again. Overall, in my personal opinion, I am a buyer of this company. But like I always say, if you guys agree with something I said, let us know in the comment section. If you completely disagree with anything or everything I said, let us know in the comment section. Again, I have no problem, you know, having a little back and forth, having a disagreement when it comes to looking at some of these companies. Because again, even if someone comes at the situation with a bunch of negatives that you may not want to hear, remember, there may be something pertinent in there that you need to hear. And again, it's not necessarily of, you know, butting heads and going against each other. It's more of, okay, let me make sure all these bases are covered, right? There's 1,000 stones of information of SoundHound, and I just want to make sure we left no stone unturned, right? And there's not a single iota of information that we have not taken into account. So that's why if someone says something negative about your situation, you should not get upset. You should double down, do even more due diligence, right? Check it out. Is that really what's going on? Oh, this could potentially be an issue. Okay, so now if this is an issue, now instead of potentially dropping 3 or 4%, we have the potential to drop, you know, 10 to 12% from this, or whatever. You know what I'm saying? I'm sure you guys can appreciate what I'm saying. So that's why I always say, anything positive, anything negative that you want to add, please let everyone know down in the comment section. You know, you guys have carte blanche in the comments, you know that. But yeah, I'll end it there. So stocks by the numbers. Thanks for stopping by. Thumbs up algorithm, right? Helps me get more eyes on the channel. Share the video, like the video. And of course, subscribe to the channel. That is our handshake agreement. That is how you help me, help you. And also, Discord link in the description of every video. You guys, when you want to come in, you want to talk about stocks, you want to talk about the weather, whatever you want to do. Of course, everybody's welcome. But now, we're moving into the second half of the week. I know, again, the first half was red. Year just started, so now we could potentially have some green and see a little bit of a rebound. But anyway, I know everyone is pumped about the new year here in 2024, and whether you had a good, bad, or ugly 2023, I want to wish everyone success. I really hope everyone makes a couple of dollars. I want to thank you guys so much for stopping by. Have a good day.